So Adrienne Johnson is a native of Washington, D.C. She votes in Maryland, District 8, and has been an expat for over 30 years. She was part of the Foster and Partners team that delivered the refurbishment of the German parliament, the Reichstag. I'm sure if you've been to Berlin, you probably have seen this amazing project that she was involved in. She was transferred to the main office in London shortly after and worked on a number of UK and overseas projects, including the Beijing Capital International Airport. Adrienne joined Democrats Abroad UK in 2008. She founded and serves as chair of the Black Caucus. She's a founding member of the Global Black Caucus Steering Committee and made a considerable contribution to the criminal justice section of DA's 2020 platform. Regularly, Adrienne attends the EMEA regional meetings. She's a former member of the UK Executive Committee and currently wears many hats in her country committee. And she's going to tell us a bit more about activities that she's done in the past and what she's doing now. Adrienne, the first.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. Glad to see so many people on the call. I will try to be quick and not bore you. And I want to thank Emily and Anelika for inviting me to introduce myself and tell you a bit about my journey to leadership in DA UK. So as Anelika already said, I'm the chair of the UK Black Caucus, and I'm also currently a DA UK DPCA voting rep. And I'm on the communications and our social media squad as I manage our Facebook page. And I'm a former member of the executive committee from 2017 to 2019, I was. And I've served on the film committee for a long time. So just a quick overview. I joined in 2008 with starting to work with the Get Out the Vote team. I didn't even know much about Barack Obama before, and I was actually leaning towards voting for Hillary, but the more I saw of his campaign, I thought, oh no, this is a man for our time. So I got really behind that and stuck in, and I did a lot of Get Out the Vote canvassing at Borough Market. I don't know if any of you all have been to London before, but it's a great place to hang out and meet lots of people. So I was in a group of I think there were about 6 of us who went down there regularly. I usually went about twice a week. And then after that, I was kind of hooked, and I thought, well, I'll attend more events and started to work at other events as well. And then shortly after that, I joined the film committee. And we show lots of documentaries primarily, and it's quite an intensive process, really, because we actually do work with the distributors to get the rights to show the films here, because there's a bit more scrutiny here probably about things like that than there is in some of the other country committees. So then in 2012, I was a volunteer at the global primary, presidential primary, and I also helped organize the volunteers for our Independence Day picnic, which we have every year in a beautiful setting in the park just behind Selfridges. So if you're ever here, please come. It's usually really fun. And then in 2013, I volunteered. We had the global DPCA global meeting was here in London, and so I volunteered to work there as well, helping with ballots and stuff. Okay, next slide. And then I've also been a member of our council for a long time. I actually don't remember when I joined the council. And then in 2013, I was also nominated from the floor for the executive committee, but I didn't make it. But I went undeterred, and so this is what I want to say to people too. If you run for office and you don't get voted in the first time, don't give up. Just, if it's really important to you, you'll come back and you'll find other things, activities to do, and learn more about the organization. I think that's really important. So that's what I did. And then, I gave the wrong years, 2015 to 2017. Sorry, I was an at-large member of the executive committee. So I did run again, and I was elected outright. And key projects that I worked on at that time were, we hired an administrative coordinator that year and helped search for the campaign office. And also we hired a campaign office manager. So I was involved in all 3 of those things. And then in 2016, I started managing our Facebook page. In 2017, I was selected to be a founding member of the Global Black Caucus Steering Committee. And shortly thereafter, I founded the DA UK Black Caucus. Inga gave the go-ahead for that. She's been very supportive. And our first event was in January of 2018, actually. And then we had the global presidential primary that year as well. And I managed getting all the ballots numbered and all the paperwork associated with the ballots and processed here. So I managed all that printing process at that time, and I volunteered at the GPP as well. And then in 2019, I ran for DPCA rep, voting rep, and I was elected at that time. I still am. And then last year, I also helped with the ballots, get the ballots ready for the GPP, and I also worked both days at the polling station. And I also contributed to the DA 2020 platform, primarily criminal justice section, but there were others as well. But that was my main one. And that was in coordination with the Global Black Caucus as well. We had collated. And also here, I had done the same thing. We had a kitchen table talk, and we collated a lot of information and fed that back into that document. So now I could tell you a little bit about what the Black Caucus has been doing here. So our first event in 2018 was the Women's Caucus. They had an activist fair. I think you can see one of the pictures on the left-hand side, on the top left-hand side, that's us at our table. So we had a table there to introduce ourselves to membership at that time. And then we also did, again, with the Women's Caucus, a Black History Month event about hidden figures, and just about introduced people to a lot of political figures, Black women, and who a lot of people generally don't know about, and that went over very well. And shortly thereafter, that was, I guess, in the summer, it's been in June, the LGBTQ caucus had a Pride series, and we presented again to them. Also, similarly, just to make people aware of the number of Black queer activists that there have been and how instrumental they were in that movement. We always have a table at the Independence Day picnic. So then in September of 2018, we had Blue Wave Boot Camp, which all of the committees and caucuses and DA were involved in, and there were a lot of us who actually contributed to getting that together. And I got Stacey Abrams to make a video for us that was shown that day. And what else? Oh yeah, then I had a gentleman from Dallas. No, he's from Houston, excuse me, who's like, I don't know if you remember, there was a picture of these judges when all those judges got elected in Houston, and it was a big deal. It was like, oh, Black Girl Magic, and he was the one who was behind, his agency was behind that campaign, and so he came and spoke to us about just strategy about how to get more Black people to run and also for office and to get them elected, and how they manage with the social media and everything, and getting young people interested in coming to the events and stuff. So that was quite interesting. And like I said, the Black Caucus members also contributed to the GA platform, 2020 platform. Then we do some cultural things too, just to give people, so it's not so heavy all the time. So there was a wonderful art exhibit here from an artist named Faith Ringgold, who was not very famous for a long time, but her work is really getting a lot of notoriety now. And she's multimedia, she makes beautiful quilts, but her work was also always very political, and she was a very strong feminist as well. So that was a nice event to go to. It was a curator talk that we attended. And then another cultural event we did, I don't know if any of you guys read that book, American Marriage, but it was a big hit a few years ago. And the author of the book was here in London and for a reading. And so we had an outing to go hear her talk, which is that you can see a picture of her in the middle on the right-hand side. That was us with Tiari Jones. And then we co-sponsored several film nights with the film committee. So the last one we did was John Lewis, Good Trouble, and that was literally a couple of days before the election, so that worked out really well. And then I had a Juneteenth celebration. There's a talk that a lot of people attended. We colored postcards for Get Out the Vote to swing state voters. And then I've had several pre and post DNC convention speakeasies just so everybody could talk about, because it was just like, oh my God, this is like the contrast between the two conventions as well was just crazy. So it was a good way to get people to talk about different things. And I will say, because it's the Black Caucus, I always make sure that there are pieces of information that would not generally be spoken about, because we are interested in making sure that people understand what the Black political agenda is and why those things are necessary. And so then the latest thing that I did was about 2 weeks ago for Black History Month here. We used the Amanda Gorman's poem, The Hill We Climb, as the basis, and again spoke about the political agenda going forward, and what she threw down the gauntlet to all of us. And so that's what that event was about. And I had a speaker here who's like a social justice. He teaches here. He's a member of DAUK as well, and he's a social justice leader. And so he spoke first, and then we had a discussion about that. And I also highlighted key legislation that we need to get passed now. So hopefully that's giving you kind of overview of what I've been doing here. If anyone has any questions, you can just get in touch with me.
The next session starts with our country committee leader, Quyen, and she is the chair of Democrats Abroad Colombia. She's also a steering committee member of the Global Youth Caucus and a founding member of the American Asians and Pacific Islanders Steering Committee and Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Quyen is an Iowa voter who has also lived in Atlanta and Boston in the United States. So with that, we let Quyen to take the stage. Thank you, Quyen.
All right, thank you, Edgar. And thank you everyone else who's helped to put this event together. It's really been terrific to be able to connect with several of you in breakout rooms. So as Edgar mentioned, I'm here to talk to you more about what it means to get involved at the country level. I am really involved in other global initiatives as well, so I'm going to pull that into my chat a little bit so you can understand how those things come together. So just to give you a little bit of general background, I joined, thank you, that helps a lot because I forget these numbers sometimes. I joined Democrats Abroad in 2018, and that's when actually I was appointed as chair because our chair and vice chair were leaving the country at that time. So after just coming to a couple of meetings, I just dove straight in, went to a global meeting in DC and got started. And then I was actually elected as in 2019. And since last year, I've become much more involved at the global level. So first starting off as co-chair of the Global Youth Caucus, but some of you got a chance to meet Courtney on the call, and Alex, who's not here, are now our co-chairs. I've also been really involved as a founding member of the AEP-PI caucus, which I'll come back to a little bit later. And then most recently as a founding member of the Global Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So coming back to the country piece and how these all fit together. So what I do here is that in Colombia, as Julia was mentioning earlier, we really have to focus on what our goals are as a country, what we really want to do in the short and the long term. For those of you who have been involved since last year, at least, you've probably seen that a lot of that was really around the elections, get out the vote. How can we identify more members to join us so that then we can get them involved in initiatives that are important to us and, of course, to vote. Something that has been important for me to do with my philosophy as a leader is to think about building up a strong foundation and using that as a space to get other people to lead as well. So that's something that we've really been trying to do in Colombia. We're very small, and so it can also be challenging to find people who want to step up and lead, but that's something that we've been really focusing on a lot, especially with our elections coming up soon here. The other thing that we do as a country committee is that we also, the chair and the vice chair attend a monthly meeting for all of Americas of this region. And something that we really work on there is just we get in touch about our general goals for the region overall and how we can all work together towards that. Connect the Dots is a really perfect example of something that we've tried to do, or to get involved with, right? Is to find more people that we haven't identified before who want to get involved in different ways. Let's see here. I wanted to come back and chat a little bit about global involvement because as you can see on here, I've really done that a lot, and that's something that I think has been really, really crucial in improving our own country committee as well, is that it's been a chance to connect with team mentors from different areas to see what other countries are doing, to see what the caucuses are doing and how we can get involved with those types of things. There are actually a lot of people, or not a lot, but several people on this call who have connected with some of our leaders, our secretary, our treasurer, other Get Out the Vote people who have helped us to grow and to make our program here in our country stronger. So that's something I would encourage you to do if you're thinking about getting involved at the country level, is that you've already had probably a chance to meet some people here that you might want to stay in touch with. You might find people that you don't know yet, but actually, honestly, a lot of the mentors that I've connected our local team with are people who the mentors I hadn't actually met at the time, or maybe we met later in another call, but I just ask around and try to see, as country chair, I certainly do not have the answers to everything that we need to be doing, and I don't have the structure for how we should be doing everything. And I think it's really important, especially as a smaller country with less, with a shorter period of time than other ones, is to reach out and ask for help. So for us, it's been really important to be humble and to just, like doing Get Out the Vote for the first time with a pretty large volunteer team. It was exciting for us to get those volunteers, but then we had to just reach out across the globe and see, okay, who actually knows how to do this and who can help us to do this really well. I see some people nodding who have actually helped us to do those things well. But those are the things that I think have been really important for us as a country committee. Again, it's helped us to grow, and it's helped us to find a way to get our volunteers involved. It's helped us to figure out ways or places where we needed more volunteers and didn't really understand when we were jumping into that. So that's why I wanted to talk about the global structure, because it helps us to get stronger every day. Jumping on to other things, what do I love about this? This is the question that the presenters, the hosts asked me to talk about. It's what I was just telling you right now. I was really grateful to have the opportunity to go to DC when I was starting, because I honestly had close to no idea about what I was really jumping into, but I just found people to connect with right away who took me under their wing and helped me to be able to be successful, or more successful, as a country chair. And even beyond that, and I think with the pandemic, it actually helped a bit, but I've been able to connect with people around the world, around my country of Colombia. I'm based in Bogota, but we have a really expansive membership. We have people on this call now who are in different regions of our country. And it's exciting to be able to come together under these common causes. When you get into the global caucuses, when you can get into these even more specific causes, it's just exciting to get to connect with people on the issues that you really care about. And then the more you get involved with Democrats abroad, the deeper the level of connection you see on these more specific causes that you care about. And that's just, it's exciting, it's thrilling. It's a chance to develop professionally as well. I've learned a lot of things here that have pushed me, I think, to be better in my work and in other parts of my life. Sometimes it can be really difficult to even just schedule calls with people who are literally in 7 different countries at a time, who are thinking about things from a different point of view. But I love those opportunities that we have here. It is not always smooth and easy and flowing, but that's part of, I think, what makes our party so strong. And that's why I love being a part of it. And it's the same thing when you get into these committees, right? The hard struggles that you have can be really really frustrating at that moment, but then you realize when you come out of it that, wow, we just accomplished something that we didn't even know that we needed to do when we walked into it. So that kind of answers the next question that I was asked to address, is like, what are some of the challenges? I mean, it's that it is a completely volunteer organization, and it is hard to organize volunteers. It's hard sometimes for yourself to organize it because you want to put a lot of time in. You don't always have the time. So that's, I think, something that I want to say to all of you is, you want to find the places to get involved that are really meaningful to you, and in a way that you can actually put in the time that fits for you. Sometimes people will tell me, Quinn, I really want to do something, but I'm too busy. I'm going through something in my life. And I wanted to point out one really superstar volunteer that we have. She's not on the call. I wish well, it's okay. I won't point her out, but she didn't have a lot of time near the end of the election. She wanted to get involved, and she was able to help us a lot by actually just using her network to connect us with some really incredible speakers who we brought on, and who talked to us about things that were very enriching for our members. That took her maybe, 10 minutes up to maybe less than an hour just to send out those introduction emails, make sure that we got to know each other and connected. But that was an incredible way. So I always like to think too about what's a really quality way that you can volunteer, even if you can't put in the sheer number of hours that it takes to do things like making a lot of phone calls, putting together slides, social media. There's always a way. And because we are all volunteers who are running our countries as well, we are more than happy if you want to get involved in any way at all. So that's something important to keep in mind, is just think about, what are my skills, or what are things that I want to, that's my timer. What are things that I really want to contribute, or actually even what's something that I want to get better at? Maybe I'm not very good at social media, but this is a chance for me to develop that. Maybe that's a place where I can volunteer and learn how to do it. We actually do need more social media help in Colombia. So if anyone here wants to help us out, that's an example of a way you can get involved with us here. I'm going to go through a couple of really other quick things before we go on to the next, but because I actually wasn't totally watching the time, Edgar, so I just set it 7 minutes randomly at one point. But let me, for those of you who are actually thinking about getting into the country level or making them better, something that helped me a lot was when I first stepped in as chair, I was really just trying to help the country stay alive. But I realized after a bit that I wanted us to be better, and especially going into a very, very important election last year. So what we did was, one of the first steps that I took was I identified a friend who was a strategy consultant. We had these ideas as an executive committee, but we didn't really know what to do with them. So we actually got her to come on as a volunteer, set up a couple of full day sessions with us to just make a strategy plan for our country. And from there, we were able to get on dozens of volunteers. And we have just short of 900 members. Gary, if you're listening, I gave you a lower number earlier, but we have just under 900 members, but we were able to get dozens of people to volunteer and to get them fitted into the different lead groups that we needed, into the different spaces. And that was because we also realized that we needed help from somebody else to organize us. So I can't stress that point enough, is that this is an amazing group of people, a lot of people who are on this call already, who are veterans, who have reached out to help us. I'm still actually I'm still green, right, for Democrats Abroad. I've only been a member for 3 years, less than 3 years, but I'm also willing to help if you want to get involved more. So those are the big things. I do want to make a call for volunteers, because I'm always about calls to action at the end of speaking. We, like I said, in Colombia, we're always looking for more people. So please reach out to us. You can reach out directly. I have our email here. I'll just put it in the chat box after, if you want to reach out to me directly or to our team, we would love to get you on. I know we have some people in Colombia here. We're looking for more people who want to run. A lot of times, smaller countries like us don't have enough people who are willing to run. And I'm going to rerun for chair, but honestly, we would love to have more democratic elections and have more people who want to get involved. Or if you're not quite ready yet, please reach out to us so that we can start mentoring you, or that you can actually start coming to our meetings and see if it's something that you really want to do. So that's what I urge you to do if you're here in Colombia, or if you're even in other countries around the world. A lot of other people in the same position where they want you to be there, but we might not know where to find you, to identify you, to come and help us grow. Other things that I'm going to put a pitch in real quick is that I mentioned I was in the breakout room for the Global Youth Caucus. I'm actually aging out to where I cannot be a steering committee member for that any longer in about a week. And so we are also looking for people who want to get really more involved with the steering committee for the Global Youth Caucus. We have Courtney Newman, who's on the call, who has been a terrific co-chair with Alex. Please reach out to them if you want to get involved on a smaller level or bigger. Also, what I was mentioning before about making time for things is I've realized that I have gotten just too deep in the weeds with things where I can't be as effective on other levels. So I also am trying to step down from the AAPI caucus soon, but we need to find, again, more representation for somebody for that in America. So if you're interested in that as well, I'm willing to stay on for now until we find someone, but please reach out to Emily Lyons, who's hosting now too, if that's something that you might be interested in here. Okay, I know I've gone way over time, so I'm very sorry, but I will pass it back to you, Edgar. Thank you everyone for staying on.